What is
17th.
17th. The time is 6 o'clock. My name is Corey Box. I'll be your chair for tonight's meeting. And we're going to get underway and verify our attendance. Mr. Macy, if you could please.
Brown.
Here.
Short.
Here.
Emmons.
Here.
Ogier.
Here.
Abel.
Here.
Murray.
Here.
Mayor Box.
Here. Good to have a full house. And for tonight's invocation, we welcome back from New Directions International Church, Pastor Tommy Davis and his Associate Dean of Pastors, Mr. Dillon. How you doing tonight, sir?
Dylan has missed y'all, by the way.
Yeah?
He has missed you.
All right. If you guys don't mind, let's rise and talk to the Lord for a moment.
Say hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
God bless you all. Thank you for having me tonight. Father, we thank you for this holiday season. God, we reflect on your grace and your mercy. We reflect upon your goodness, and we reflect upon the fact that Jesus Christ was born many years ago, and he has allowed us to once again experience another holiday season. And so, God, as we navigate through this season, we take time to say thank you. We take time to praise you, and we take time, oh God, to appreciate this season and all that it brings and what it represents. So, God, we also thank you for this meeting tonight. And we pray your blessings upon it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pastor, has your son memorized the Pledge of Allegiance yet?
Not yet.
All right. Next time, you got the lead, all right?
Yeah.
Until tonight, I'll take care of it for you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Papa. Thank you. All right, looks like we have on our agenda, we're going to introduce some new employees and do some recognitions. Who's taking the point on that? Looks like it's you, Chief.
Mayor, members of council, let me get my notes here so I don't mispronounce a name, which I often do. So first, I would like to introduce you to some of our new dispatch staff. We have Mercedes Dawsey and Darcy St. Ange, and Rachel Navarro in the back. All of them these two come to us with some experience and are doing a very, very good job. This one comes to us from the Air Force. She's also doing a really good job, and we're really happy to have all three of them. Next, I'm going to introduce you to the two new officers. Stand up. Bradley McFarland and Andrew Spinner.
Chief, did you not tell McFarland about the gum chewing policy? He keeps chomping. Now he's under stress. Mr. McFarland.
No, I didn't.
We do not have a gum chewing policy here.
We do.
Welcome. That's what we do to new guys. It's part of the hazing process.
Would you like him to make a speech now?
I think he should tell us all about his life,
So,
how he got here, where we found him. Hey, when you do what we do, we try to find a little bit of joy in this. So you are just happen to be the victim
the
tonight.
color of red that he is turning is matching Craig's shirt.
Yeah,
Anyways, so if you guys can sit down.
yeah. Welcome.
They are both scheduled to go to the academy sometime after the first of the year. We're not sure yet, are we? March, maybe? April 1st. But both of them are in field training right now and doing very well. So, the next thing I'd like to do is I'd like to let me get to the right one here. So this was brought to my attention from Lieutenant Tyler Brogdon from the Sapulpa Police Department as part of the Southwest Area Tactical, which we are a member of in our joint SWAT team that we have. Lieutenant Brogdon wrote me a memo recommending SWAT team members Kevin Nunley, Arthur Solomon, and Trevor Hash for the Meritorious Conduct Award. On Sunday, February 4th, 2024, the Southwest Area Tactical Team was activated by the Bixby Police Department for an armed and barricaded suspect with a semi-automatic rifle. The information known at the time of the activation is the suspect had been holding his wife hostage at gunpoint, but she was able to escape the residence and call the Bixby Police Department for help. While the wife was fleeing the residence, the suspect fired at least one round, which was believed to have been aimed at her. At approximately 6:55 a.m., SWAT team members deployed around the target location. Nunley and Hash, both police snipers on the SWAT team, were deployed to side one of the residents to provide overwatch and intel. Solomon was located on side one carrying the go bag for his element. The SWAT team communicated with the suspect through a window, but he refused to exit the structure and stopped all communication. Chemical agents were deployed into the residence beginning around 7:30 in the morning. Solomon was tasked with deploying chemical agents on side one. Approximately 7:53 a.m., a single gunshot was heard inside the residence. Around 7:58, the suspect fired between 15 and 25 rounds through a closed exterior door at SWAT members. For approximately the next hour, the suspect continued to fire rounds at SWAT team members on all sides of the residence throughout this incident. These officers maintained their professionalism and continued to perform their duty without delay or hesitation while under direct fire from the suspect. At approximately 8:41 a.m., the suspect exited the residence while firing a rifle on the number 4 side of the residence. SWAT team members returned fire and struck the suspect. SWAT team members secured the suspect's weapons and immediately began rendering first aid to the suspect until relieved by medical personnel. He was transported to the hospital and then transported to the Tulsa County Jail later that day. The suspect was charged with shooting with intent to kill, threatening a violent act, feloniously pointing a firearm, and tampering with the security system. These officers maintained their professionalism throughout the incident, and their actions ensured the safety of other officers and citizens. Their actions reflected great credit upon themselves and upheld the highest traditions of the Jenks Police Department and the Southwest Area Tactical Team. For that reason, Assistant Chief Brown wrote a memo recommending all 3 officers be awarded the Meritorious Conduct Award, and I agree with that. And so at that time, I'm going to present the 3 of them with their Meritorious Conduct Award. So, you 3 will step up.
Can we get you guys to stay too for a picture? Thanks. Is it now a good time to grab a picture?
Yeah, now would be a great time to grab a picture and congratulate these guys. This was a this was a hairy scene, and I think each one of them had at least a bullet whiz by them at some point on this, and we're lucky that no one was killed during this. So it was a good, successful SWAT mission, and I'm very proud of our involvement with it. So,
Thank you. Mr. Murray, make the comments.
Through my 45 years of putting on a uniform, I've been in a few situations, and I never had to pull the trigger on anything, and I was very fortunate. But to be in a situation where someone's life is extremely in danger, as well as yourselves, is very heroic, and I'm very proud of you guys for what you did.
Thank you. Craig, you want to grab a picture? Thank you. Yes, just come out of the house. Congratulations, guys. Good job. right, thank you. We like doing things like that. I wish we could do it more often. We're moving on in our agenda. We have an animal welfare spotlight. I don't see or hear any dogs or cats or small rodents. No animals tonight? Okay. All right. Sorry, what did you say? Oh, okay. Okay, citizens' comments or public comments. This is if you're not familiar with this, it's a time in our meeting where if you have anything on your mind that you'd like addressed to the council, that it's typically going to be a topic of conversation that's not on tonight's agenda, you may do so. Would hope that you could keep it to 3 or so minutes if you would, and just understand that we won't be, okay. All right. You know we have did you tell them about the policy about being on time and chewing gum at the same time? You were on the turnpike too? Oh, the dog. All right, sir, if you could introduce yourself and tell us who you have there and keep that dog under control. He seems like he's got some energy.
He's excited. My name's Caleb Foster. I'm the animal control officer here. And this is Brazo. He is a St. Bernard Husky mix, hence why he's a little excited. He's about 1.5 years old, and him and his sister, litter mate, was found over at the new mall and brought in. And his sister was just adopted last week at the ACE adoption event. So he's looking for a new home for Christmas.
Is he gonna get bigger?
No.
Tell him-
That's about as big as he'll get.
No offense, man. Just curious, that's all.
He's a little excited. He was stuck
Okay.
in the truck for too long. But
Okay.
no, that's about as big as he'll get. He's very vocal, likes to play, really likes other dogs too. So
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, and he was over at the new mall, huh?
Yep. Yep. He was found wandering out there by the little food court area, trying to get some Mexican food off of everybody.
Was he disappointed that he only had one option?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically.
Sorry, Simon. Okay, hey, best of luck. What is his name, Brazo?
Brazo.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what that means in Spanish?
No, I do not.
Really?
Nope.
You should ask him.
If I don't know. I don't think he does.
Where's Charlotte? Charlotte, what does it mean? Oh, okay. Arm. Yeah, embarazar, to hug. All right, well, next time. All right, tell him we wish him the best of luck. Happy Merry Christmas to you, sir. Hopefully he gets a new home for the new year. All right, moving back to citizen or public comment. If you have something on your mind you want to address with your council, you may do so. Name, address, phone number, and form of payment, please, sir.
Form of payment,
Yeah.
blood type as well. Justin Little, 10531 South Coa, Jenks. I come up here a lot of times to talk and actually to push back on things, but tonight I wanted to come up and also make a comment from a positive perspective, because if I'm going to say things that are not positive or that I don't feel are positive, I feel like I've got to do both sides to be consistent. So first thing is, Mayor Box, I want to thank you for coordinating the event that we had last week, and also you, Councilor Abel, for coming to it. It was actually, I've been to 2, or I guess 3 of the town hall meeting type things. This was the neatest one we've had so far. I think it opened up and made people give some answers that maybe made them feel a little bit uncomfortable from a personal perspective, which gave us the ability as citizens to get to know them better. And so I appreciate that. You had a lot of good insight that taught us about you and taught us who you were and gave us a good thought process of what kind of leader that you're going to be in the city of Jenks. And I appreciate you being so forthright with us with that. So that's all I had. So
Thank you, Mr. Little. Merry Christmas to you, sir. Okay, anyone else? Public comment? Very well, we will close the floor to public comment. Thank you. Moving on to our general business tonight, item number 1 is our consent agenda. If any council member would like to further discuss an item out of the consent agenda, you may make a motion to pull that, or we can entertain a motion to approve it as is. Your call.
Would like to, Mr. Mayor, would like to pull item 1H for discussion?
Approving the rest.
Yes, and approve the rest.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda less item H. Let's take a vote, please.
Brown.
Yes?
Short.
Yes.
Emmons.
Yes.
OJ.
Yes.
Abel.
Yes.
Murray. Yes. Mayor Box.
Yes, moving on to item 2, we'll circle back to H, which says that the city council will approve the endorsement for the 2025 Tulsa Regional Chamber One Voice Legislative Agenda. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And if you would tell the public what this is, give them the elevator speech on what this
Yes,
is, so we're not talking in
the-
circles.
The one voice proposition that has been brought before us, asking for an endorsement, this is an omnibus endorsement in that there's several items in here. The chamber, of course, is supportive of a number of these things. He's come out of the local chambers coalition. And there's a number of very positive items that are on here. One that stood out as I was reading through, we learned through COVID that the possibility is there that we can actually hold business remotely if we need to. And I know that since the emergency orders have expired, that was lost. And sometimes I think you'll know that we've run short of a quorum at times and had to postpone a meeting. One of the items that's in here that is proposed to being changed will extend the statute to allow for official business to be done remotely, so that's a positive thing. I specifically asked this to be pulled, not to influence anyone's opinions on this particular item, but there are a number of things, both at the local level, the regional level, and the federal level, and because we are being asked as a council, as a community, to endorse those, personally, there's some things at the federal level I'm a fiscal conservative, and there's some items on here that I have issues with that I would not want to sign off on. And unfortunately, as legislation goes, federal things go, as state legislation goes, as issues come before different bodies, it's a compromise. Sometimes you get the things that you want, sometimes you don't. But I did want to go on the record, but there are some things on here that we need to support, others that I personally would not support. So I wanted to go on the record saying that there's some things on here that I could not endorse if anybody were to come back. And again, most of those things that I have challenges with would be at the federal level. I think we all are aware that we've gone through a recent federal election, and there's a proposed department that will be looking at government efficiency. And I think there's some things in here that will be addressed at the federal level. And for that reason, I would probably not put my endorsement. I would dissent on some of the items. We don't have the option to go through line by line or paragraph by paragraph to say I agree with this or disagree with that. So I just wanted to go on the record saying that I was dissenting on some of the items at the federal level.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, and for the three of you that are voting for the first time to up or down to approve this agenda that the Tulsa Chamber will take to the State Chamber and take to Washington, D.C. For the most part, I would suggest to you your strategies. If you agree with most of it, it's a yes. If you disagree with most of it, it's a no. And as Councilor Brown said, we don't get to pick and choose these pieces, nor do we have time to really argue with them about what the agenda is. So like it or not, I think historically we've always, for the most part, approved the majority of their agenda. And I would encourage you, if you think to yourself that they're not asking me what our agenda should be, then you should probably get involved with these chamber events outside of our local Jenks chamber. Any other comments, questions on item H, Tulsa Regional One Voice Legislative?
I will say that on this, if you, like I advised you, Councilor Brown, is that there are other avenues, like if there are specific ones that are as far as the federal government or state government that you don't agree with, the Coalition of Tulsa Area Government, plus possibly INCOG if it relates to that situation, and, you know, our local representatives can help with possibly changing maybe the wording, or, because I know CTAG, which is our Coalition of Tulsa Area Government, is very good about if there's a problem with the wording, or if there's a problem with or concerns with the item itself, they can step in and help.
Thank you, Mayor. All right. Anyone else? Last call, item H. Okay, we can entertain a motion on item H, if you would, please.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you both. We have a proper second and a motion. Let's vote, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Short,
Yes.
Emmons,
Yes.
Ogier,
Yes.
Abel,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, thank you. Moving on to item 3 is ordinance number 1656, related to Jenks zoning 24, planned unit development 127, major amendment number 1, amending planned unit development 127 to approve major amendment number 1, repealing all ordinances or parts thereof in conflict herewith, providing for severability and declaring an emergency. The general location of what we're talking about in item 3 is 126th and Harvard. And if you are following along and you have a packet in front of you, we are on page 117. Mrs. Hilton, good evening.
Good evening and Merry Christmas, counselors and
Merry
staff.
Christmas.
This item has been here before you twice now, and it has been to Planning Commission twice. So it was originally presented to you in, I don't have it off the top of my head, a long time ago, 2021 is when it first came and was approved as Fraser Falls. At that time, it was a gated subdivision and had a few different items that are comparable, and I'll get to that in a little bit. Since that time, since 2021, a lot has happened in our economy, a lot has happened in our community, and the developer who started this project as Fraser Falls, Mr. Wilmershauser, is here this evening. So if there are any questions, once I'm done with my presentation that you are interested in asking, he is absolutely available and willing to talk about his project proposal and answer your questions. So we took this to Planning Commission as a major amendment to a planned unit development. So you have your underlying zoning. We'll just give a quick exercise in zoning. So when a property is going to be used for something specific, we have to look at the comprehensive plan and say, hey, what does this allow for? And in this case, Mr. Wilmershauser was interested in a single-family residential development. We're like, great. The comprehensive plan says single-family residential development is exactly what we want here. So then the next question is, how much density does it allow? And then in this case, we're like, great, it allows the same density as what is proposed in the comprehensive plan. However, it's zoned agriculture, and you can't build that many homes on ag land. You can only have one home and probably an accessory dwelling unit and some barns. So then we have to go through the zoning process. In 2022, we updated the zoning code, which we now refer to as the Unified Development Ordinance. It took our zoning code and our subdivision regulations, put them together, and that's the next step. So we looked at the comprehensive plan, and we looked at the zoning. And when we adopted the new Unified Development Ordinance, we said if someone's going to develop something greater than 20 acres as single-family residential, they need to do a planned unit development. So we're going to identify the base zoning, and then we're going to put a planned unit development to govern that property. So the Unified Development Ordinance has a list of standards, and the developer goes through those standards and says, yes, I can meet that. I need some relief here. Yes, I can meet that. No, I need relief here. And you kind of go through there and decide based on the project that they want to build, where they need relief. So that PUD allows for that relief. And in this case, the planned unit development was approved as a gated subdivision. So fast forward 3 years, and Mr. Wilmershauser has a new plan. And just so that I'm reminding everyone, because there are people who listen online and don't always know, when you have a major amendment, it requires a 20-day notice to the public, and everybody within 300 feet of that property legal description gets a letter. And I like to say we're not responsible for the actual U.S. postal system. So a lot of times people say, hey, we didn't get our letter. And we're like, well, we sent your letter. So They get a letter, and then there's a sign posted, and then it's published in the paper. So there's 3 ways that you can find out. We also talked about when that sign gets posted, sometimes it can feel a little risky to get out there and find out what it actually says. So once you see a sign go up, you can actually go to our website. And on our website, we have public notices, a section there. And our city clerk posts whatever that sign says. So you can actually see it on your phone. You can, we're still doing the QR code, so you can scan the QR code. But other than that, you can go straight to our website, see the sign go up, find the public notice, and find out the information. If you still don't know the details, you can call city staff or email us. So that's kind of how we got here. The original proposal that Mr. Wilmershauser brought in was kind of a typical looking subdivision. The streets were pretty straight, and it deviated, I would say, quite a lot from the original subdivision plan that was submitted. At that time, Planning Commission did not feel it was favorable to approve it, and they denied it. The way our code is written, the project moves forward regardless of the recommendation by Planning Commission, so it still came to council. Mr. Wilmershauser took the comments from the public and from the Planning Commission and made significant changes to the site plan and to the product in general. We brought it to council. It was recommended by council to take it back to Planning Commission, so they had an opportunity to see the same plan that you all would be voting on. And that's what we did. So on December 5th at Planning Commission, we had 2 members that were not present, but the project was approved with the following conditions. Number 1, 15% of the homes may be built between 1,600 square feet and 1,800 square feet. Now, a note to that is that home square footage is not something we regulate within our Unified Development Ordinance, but it is a very common conversation that is had within planned unit development approvals. Hang on one second. If you're talking about other communities, it also comes up in other communities from time to time as well. Number 2, provide a traffic impact analysis, which is required in our UDO. And then there's just a couple of other comments that staff made at that time. So if you look on page 118, it talks about who spoke at the meeting and everything. So that's how we got here tonight. Mr. Wilmershauser brought the Planning Commission a project that looked much closer to what he originally asked for. I would say the primary difference is going to be gated versus not gated, and the size of the lots in the home square footage. If you look on page 120, I put together a list that, so originally, okay, just bear with me. The project was approved as Fraser Falls, which was north of Fraser Meadows. And then when Mr. Wilmershauser came back, he wanted it to be called Fraser Meadows 3 and 4. So once it went back to Planning Commission, we went back to Fraser Falls. In my mind, it seems easier and clearer, but it may not be. So if it gets a little bit confusing, just let me know and I'll try to explain. So on the left hand is the original plan that was approved by Planning Commission and Council in 2021, and it was named Fraser Falls. And then the new plan, which was major amendment number 1 that is before you tonight, was called Fraser Meadows 3 and 4, but we will also refer to it as Fraser Falls. So I'm not going to go through every one of these things, but in red, I show that the maximum number of homes that could be built according to the comprehensive plan would be 130, and in the original plan, they had asked and got approved to build 109. And then as presented tonight, the plan shows 117. A lot of times they'll lose a lot anyway here and there. Man, I'm losing my voice. Okay. So then I have in blue non-UDO details. So these are things that get negotiated during conversations with staff and Planning Commission and City Council. So originally, if they needed a vehicular bridge. They're not going to need that now. Originally, it was gated. Currently, as presented, it is not gated. They still have to think about the high-pressured gas line. Originally, there had been a statement that the homes would be 350,000 and up, and there's no reference to the amount of the homes in this one. There are 2 gated accesses. Of course, if it's not gated at this point, there would not be any. So that kind of summarizes the page 120. If you look on page 121, this chart is a little more detailed. So the very first column are the standards that the Unified Development Ordinance and even the zoning code previously would have said you have to meet these standards. So if you want to build a home, prior to 2022, if you wanted to be zoned RS2, you'd have to have a 75-foot lot width. When we amended the code, we said, based on everything that is built, an RS2 looks more like a 55-foot lot width, because that's what was built in the city of Jenks. So when we adopted the UDO, I call it right-sizing. We kind of right-sized the zoning code to match what has been built. So the first column represents the original UDO prior to 2022, and then the blue column represents Fraser Falls as it was originally approved for a gated subdivision. Welcome. We're glad you're here. The next column in gray is what was denied by Planning Commission. And the white column, which is next to the gray on the right, represents what is before you tonight, and then the final column is what the UDO would require. So you can go through there. There's one correction I need to show you all. If you come down to lot area, the column in white, which represents what you're voting on tonight, it says 5,000, and it should read 6,000, because 6,000 square feet is what the PUD as submitted by Mr. Wilmershauser says. If you go to the very bottom, it says non-unified development ordinance, so non-UDO items that are often in a PUD but are not regulated by the UDO. So minimum house size, you can see the changes there, and masonry requirements. The next little bit is some of the feedback that the light gray context is from the very original approval at City Council. And then if you look on page 123, this is the actual language from the Unified Development Ordinance that talks about PUDs and the process of approving those and what is being looked at and considered. Okay, if you look on page 127, can you go one more page, Brandon? Thank you. So when Fraser Falls was approved in 2021, the layout at the top, which is called Figure 2, is what was approved. And what you would see are a couple of different ponds. At that time, there was a blue line stream. Regulations at the federal level have changed on blue line streams. So that would have allowed a different configuration, which is what happened during the, we'll call Fraser Meadows 3 and 4, because that blue line wasn't required to be kept, so they could actually use more land. So Figure 3 is a hand-drawn exhibit that was approved by Planning Commission. And this one was done by Mr. Wilmershauser, and you can see it's very similar. He drew the initial layout, and he also drew this one. And this is closer to what he had in mind when he purchased the property and began to envision a subdivision there. So he still has a dry detention facility. Roads are still very similar. One large pond, a really deep pond, and instead of 3, which cuts down on maintenance cost, and it is no longer gated. So on page 129, it has the staff recommendation and the conditions established by Planning Commission. And then on page 130 is the actual planned unit development. So I'm not going to go through all of this either. one of the concerns from the public are residents who lived in current, what is known as Fraser Meadows, was concerned about sharing the amenities. They were concerned about sharing their pool, and without it being gated, the plan would be for Mr. Wilmershauser that the amenities in Fraser Meadows would be shared, but that goes both ways. Whatever he builds, which he's building a sport court in Fraser Falls, that would also be allowed. Anyone in Fraser Meadows would be allowed to use it. And he enlarged the size of the pool. It's not built yet. So if you go out and look, you won't see the pool. Okay. Page 134 are those development standards. These are what's regulated in our zoning code. These are very important. Every lot in the entire city is regulated by these development standards. What is the front yard setback? What are the side yard setbacks? What is the rear yard setback? What is the lot width? What is the minimum lot area? They are all different. There's commercial versus industrial versus residential. And you can go on to the next couple of pages. It's kind of a repeat of what you've already seen. And then the very last exhibit is what was originally approved. With that being said, I personally don't have any more comments. Brandon, if you will go past this one, and you can kind of see what Mr. Wilmershauser, he's submitted a couple of hand-drawn exhibits. So that is one of them, and then the one right before, there you go. It's kind of going the wrong direction, but you can see what's being planned. So, do you have any questions for me?
Thank you, Mrs. Hilton. We'll go ahead and open up the floor on my right. If you have a question, light your mic and wait to be recognized, and we'll get underway. Mr. Brown?
I am lit up, okay. Not necessarily questions, but some observations. First of all, appreciation for your work on this. There's a lot of details, especially when you come back 2 or 3 times on this. And then also recommendation or appreciation to the Planning Commission for all the work that they did as well. And I do see that the Planning Commission did support the proposal as presented. And I don't want to second guess the Planning Commission. That's their role to bring their recommendations to us. There are a couple of things that I want to bring out to the rest of the council on this. Number one, because the UDO is set up where we've got some flexibility on a PUD to encourage unique design, where we can work with efficient use of land, preserving natural features, stimulating creative approaches. There is some flexibility that we do have under the code to vary from some of the hard and fast rules that we would have under a normal zoning. As I went through and did an analysis on this proposal as it started all the way through to what's before us tonight, a couple of things that were of concern. There are 4 different areas that we fall outside of the normal UDO restrictions. Actually, one of them is not actually outside the UDO, but talking about the minimum house size, that was an NA, but that was something that was referenced with the comparison of what was originally proposed on the square footage. Impervious surface coverage, lot area, which we've addressed, that there's a revision, a Scribner's error on that, taking up 6,000 square feet. And then the other was the lot widths. The biggest concern I had with any of these areas was the lot widths, simply because we have been looking at those minimum lot widths. And when we're making revisions based upon the recommendations in the UDO for the amenities, I went through, and there's actually 3, I'm only seeing 3 areas in this proposal as it's presented that are really unique amenities. One was the 24 by 12 pavilion, the 1-acre fishing pond, and then the outdoor sports court with pickleball. All of the other amenities that are listed in the amended PUD are shared with Fraser Meadows. So the concern that I have is, of course, there were individuals from Fraser Meadows that raised objections to what they originally thought they were buying into in this area. Some of the general public had some concerns as well on the scaling back those that they're in the community adjacent properties. What are appropriate amenities is kind of subjective on our part. What do we feel is adequate versus inadequate? And because of that, it's all a matter of opinion. So what I'd like to propose, or at least where I feel my feelings on this, personal opinion, is that if we can have this proposal as close to conformity to the UDO as what is published, I would feel much better about that. And doing the math on this, going back to the area that is really the two areas that are not conforming are the lot areas and the lot widths. The lot area, because we are under on density under the UDO, I don't see the lot area as being as much of an issue as the lot widths. And what is proposed in the tiered structure with the 63-foot, 60-foot, 55-foot, and 50-foot, actually the majority of these are either favorable or conforming to the original proposal, but we're looking at the one that stands out is the 18 lots at 50 foot. And if my math is correct on this, I realize that not all of these properties are going to be contiguous, but if we were to move that down to where we eliminated the 50 foot and move those into 55-foot lots, the math comes out to basically the loss of 2 lots. So from 117 lots, we'd be going to 115, and then that would put feasibly, again, if it works out, respacing the lots out, that would put everything conforming on the lot widths, and it would be within an acceptable level on the lot area on density. So that would be my view if I were going to approve this with an amendment. With respect to the gated versus non-gated, I know that's a bit of a debated discussion as well. Personally, I would like to see us go back to the language of the UDO, and the UDO, when we talk about gated versus non-gated, talks about the ability to travel from one neighborhood to the next, whereas if we have gated communities, that eliminates the expansion where we would have stub outs going in. So the property to the west, to develop that, if there's no access from the east, then that makes that property much more difficult to develop at a later time. Gated communities become an issue for deliveries, public utilities, fire and police protection coming in. And when we look at gated communities versus non-gated, because this is an RS2, I look at the appropriate nature of a gated community, and we would normally, just looking, speaking generally, an RS1 where you've got condos or high density, there could be an argument for gated in that type of a situation for security reasons. And then typically those that would be an RS, I said an RS1, meant RS3, an RS1 with much larger properties, estates, where the home values are much higher, we could see gated communities there. But within RS2, the practicality of having an RS2 just doesn't seem where we would normally see that. The biggest concern that I have with having this gated, besides the impact on the adjacent community, is those that are coming in, the cost on maintaining a gated community is going to fall on the number of properties that are in there, the homeowners. And based on 117 or 115 lots, the sustainability of that is going to be extremely difficult from homeowners associations. And recognizing that the size of these homes are going to be more mid-size homes or smaller homes, you know, based on what we would have in the community, I'm just not sure that's feasible. So I kind of align with the Planning Commission and what's been said about eliminating the gated requirement. I can see where there's more of an adverse impact by leaving that gated with the other concessions. Having said all of that, I'm in favor of this with the exception of the 50-foot lot widths. If we can get back to 55 so that we're closer to conformity on the UDO. The other concessions, I appreciate the work that was done on this, and I think the other concessions are fine. So those are my views.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
You can come over to the left. Anyone? Questions, comments? Mr. Short?
Well stated.
Yeah, I think the public should know, and this is, we could probably talk about this, we can't regulate the square footage size of a house, but I think should the rest of the council agree with Councilor Brown, when you create a minimum lot size, you in effect probably alter what the size of the house that can be built on the lot. I think everybody in the room is catching on to that those mathematics. Is there any data to suggest that a house of this size and what we think we know the price point is more or less likely to be a future rental if it's a gated community or a non-gated community?
I don't have any of that
Is
data.
any, just general knowledge and planning, is there any data out there, any conventional wisdom that suggests these houses will, in 10 years, will be rentals or not, depending on whether it's gated or not?
No.
That's validated data.
I would say with our, I can't
Okay,
point you
Okay.
to a specific report. There's a lot of conversation about that in planning and in just about every field right now. I think the world that we live in right now, a lot of people cannot afford homes, and a lot of people are renting.
Yeah.
They don't want to live in an apartment, and it's very beneficial for them to be able to rent a home.
yeah, okay. All right, I would, sounds like no one, anyone else?
Mayor Box, real quick.
Yes, Mr. Short.
The one thing that I do appreciate in this PUD is the fact that the houses are 100% brick, and that does tend to mitigate the risk that of the deterioration, the sustainability
Yeah.
in the event that they do become a rental home. That I don't think we're necessarily directly opposed to, but the sustainability of brick is dramatically better than a painted wood. So.
And good point. I would agree with you too, Mr. Brown. I think this neighborhood with these amenities, this looks expensive from an HOA perspective. You close it up, it gets really expensive. And it almost seems, I love the amenities that are here, by the way. This is what we want in Jenks. We had a conversation a couple months ago where we said no to a development that had zero amenities. There's no quality of life there. This looks like a high quality of life, but these things are also expensive. I think if you gate it at some point, the cost of the HOA is approaching a significant portion of the actual rent or the mortgage. So I think this is a good balance. And I don't want the council to get into the business of choosing who's gated and who's not. It's a particularly sensitive subject for me personally, because I'm surrounded by gated communities. When I walk into their neighborhoods, they look at me like I'm an infidel, and then their dog comes into my yard and craps everywhere. So I'm particularly sensitive to that. When you're not gated, everybody gets to walk by and enjoy their long walk, and then we don't. So
I'll just jump in
Did you
just
say
a
wow?
second.
it's a reality, man.
It's, when you're in a gated community, I mean, you maintain your own streets. You maintain the whole frontage, whatever cameras, the gates, whatever it is. And I'm telling you, those gates get expensive. I know this because we're in a gated community, and your HOA dues are astronomical. And for 115 or 117 at this point in time, unless that's amended to 115, that's not an insignificant amount to this type of home and this type of housing as far as, economically. You're not talking just $20 more per year. It could be a few $100s more per year, spread out through every single home in there. I mean, just in our experience, and I'm talking about experience, it's extremely expensive. If you have any problems with those gates, it's all up to that community. It has nothing to do with the city. Your streets have nothing to do with the city. They don't get plowed. It's all up to the HOA. It's all up to maintain your gates, maintain your landscaping, whatever it is. It's out of your pocket. So, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Mrs. OJ. Anyone else? Last call for Mrs. Hilton. Mr. Shrout.
If I could just say, I think we've seen a similar product that is in Fraser Falls or Fraser Lake, where we have these smaller homes, and anecdotally, I know that, there's retirees who have moved into these homes. They're really nice. I think it's a good product, and it's different than some of the things that we've talked about in the past, even recent past, a couple months ago. And so I know that the developer has done this product. It's a good product. It's something that I think that we'd all be proud of. And I understand, gated versus non-gated. I agree with what the vice mayor said. And so I'm just, kind of chiming in here that we have this product in Jenks right now, and it's a good product. And so I think that's why we endorse this. And but again, we respect whatever the council decides.
Thank you, Mr. Shrout.
And it is 100% masonry on the first floor.
All right, we'll close the floor to council. Last
Mayor.
call.
Yeah.
Mr. Murray?
In my experience in a living condition, I lived in an addition that had 5 subdivisions, 4 of which were gated, mine wasn't. We had 5 different HOAs, and then we had an overall HOA. One of the gated had a park that was supposed to be for all the additions, but that particular addition took offense anytime we would come over and park on their street. And I'm just putting it out, Charlie, if building something like this, that's something that a developer that you may have to look at or be prepared for. And I know having the pool and the gated and the park or not, I can see where there's going to be complications and neighbors arguing and stuff. And so I just throw that out as a caveat.
Okay, thank you. We will go ahead and close the floor to council. Thank you, Mrs. Hilton. At this point, we can invite the applicant or representative to come forward. If there's anything you'd like to add to the discussion, you may.
I'll be brief, and I'll turn it over to Charlie. So, Robert Bell, 101 East Aquarium Place, Jenks. The Planning Commission vetted this for a long time, went through it completely. At that point, we altered our application to mirror what the Planning Commission recommended. So that was where we're at. And then Charlie's can talk about the amenities in that process.
Man, Robert.
Charlie,
We should let history reflect. For the first time in many years, you've spoken for less than a minute.
I warned you.
Goodness gracious. Good evening. How are you, sir?
My name is Charles Wormerhauser, and I live at 12901 South 27th Street in Fraser Lake. And first of all, I do want to address the 50-foot wide lots. I don't know if you're aware, I did Hyde Park. And all the lots in there are 45 and 50 in the villas and the small stuff. And a lot of the retirees don't want bigger lots. So that's why I put those in there, because I built 6 in Fraser Lake that are only 45-foot wide and only 100-foot deep. Now, they're all on the lake, and that's why everybody wanted them, and they are really pretty. Thank you. Who said that? I can't remember who said that. But anyway, that's why they're in there. 55 really doesn't make any difference. They're not going to get that much more yard. And even if I had to take a few 63s down to 60, I can still do that. Somebody did mention about the access to the west. I met with the engineers today. We drew in an access on the west. I can show you where. We took this lot out and put the access right here, so we've already down one lot. We're moving it over a little bit so we can move these down to have a little more movement here. We made this pond wet now, so we'll have 2 wet ponds, which is better for people. So there'll be 2 west access that will be put in Fraser Meadows. There'll be another one in Fraser Meadows too. So I know somebody was concerned about that, and you're right, we gotta have access to the west for those people. That lift station I built that you guys have now it handles the capacity of getting rid of Sunrise Ridge and the 80 acres to the west. Anything else?
What's the overall, what happened? Why are we here? You were gonna do all this and now you're selling all this. Is that
Well,
a?
well, no, the market wasn't good enough for me to do it all. I never was gonna do it all. I was gonna sell the lots typically. But a lot of the builders could not take all the lots down that they committed to originally in Fraser Meadows. A company came along from Missouri that's been wanting to move in here. They moved into Oklahoma City and now they want to be in Tulsa. They came and bought all the lots. They've bought this whole neighborhood. It's all sold to them.
Have you invited them to any of these meetings?
He said that he came and met
Have
with.
they attended?
Yeah, not these meetings. He
Okay.
had a personal meeting with somebody
Okay.
up in the office, with a bunch of you guys up in the office. Did you not meet with him? Okay. And I did ask him if he wanted to come tonight, but he felt like he didn't want to get into a bunch of, in case people are complaining a lot, he didn't want to get upset. So he said, let me come and meet with him after we get this passed tonight.
Doesn't want to be upset?
Well, it's not that. He said he can handle it, but he didn't
Yeah.
want to cause any.
I understand. How many floor plans do you think that this builder has? Because I've personal experience, and technically I'm still the HOA president. So I've been an HOA president now for 18 years straight.
Oh, my gosh.
Eddington Place, a long time ago, when it was first purchased, the gentleman who developed the Riverwalk, remind me his name?
Jerry Gordon?
Huh?
Jerry Gordon?
Yeah, Jerry sold those lots to a variety of builders, and a lot of people moved in, and you could initially see a lot of distinction and some really good quality homes. And then Simmons came in and wiped that out and bought all of them, and it had a very popular floor plan. It's called the Cody. It was the most efficient use of 3,000 plus square feet anyone's ever seen, and everybody wanted one. You could put
Just different elevations is
six
all you
bedrooms and even a game room in 3,000 square feet. It was remarkable. So here we have what used to be your idea, we've seen your neighborhoods and they're good. You see a lot of variety, nothing looks the same. And now you've got a builder coming in that we don't have any experience with. They don't come to the meeting. We've never seen their product, and they're gonna build all these lots. I would tell you, I think you did a very, very good thing from going back to this design. This is what most people wanna buy. I think it's what most of us feel very comfortable in approving. The lack of straight streets, the fact when you open your garage door and you look down, you may not see, the people next to you because there's a little bit of a wind in the road. So I appreciate the fact that you did a good job bringing this back to where the planning commission wanted it. I was just curious as to how we got here and why this has been kicked, this can's been kicked
Yeah.
for so long.
I did not draw that drawing you saw before this, the
Yeah.
one they turned down. They drew it. They went to the engineers and they had them draw it. And when it came back to me with that much density and that racehorse look, I thought, oh my gosh, I've never built one like this. So I didn't like it. And then when they turned it down, I said, okay, I'm going back to my original.
Okay.
And that's what I did.
In your experience, is there some answer to the question I asked earlier? What type of neighborhood is more prone to become?
Okay, have you not been out and seen their houses? Every one of them, the one-story ones are all about the same, but the elevations are different. They use different materials. Their floor plans are different. They have some 25 and 600 footers in Fraser Meadows. One's in there and they're getting ready to build a couple more. He said they're gonna do anywhere from, won't do many 16s. They'll mainly be 1750s all the way up to 2800 in this neighborhood, so.
And they have an office in the Tulsa area?
They've just built an office in Fraser Meadows.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, they're gonna
So
office
do you know
out.
how many floor plans they have?
Oh, they have a bunch.
Okay.
They have a lot. They do, I don't know, 1,400 homes as of now. Annually is what they do, and they're gonna try to get up to 2,000. They
Is
want
in-
600
yeah.
lots here in Tulsa area.
Okay. In my old neighborhood, anybody who had lived there for a while could drive up and down the road and name the house.
Who built the house?
Well, yeah, we know who built
what
it.
the name
One
was.
guy built
Oh,
them up, but
Simmons
we
did
could
it?
name the floor plan, because,
No, they'll be varied. There's gonna be some 2-stories.
Yeah.
And there'll be a lot of 1-stories. They like to build the 1-stories.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the only place I've ever really built those was in Hyde Park or that little street in Fraser Meadows. In Fraser Lake. So And if you'd like to know, on that street, all those people are in my small group at church. They all came out there and saw it, and they wanted to be there, so. So I don't have to go very far on Tuesday nights and Thursday nights when we have meetings, so.
So do you have an answer to that in your experience? Is it, what's more likely to be a rental, a 10-year-old gated home or?
What's more
10-year
likely is going to be a rental is a neighborhood where they don't take care of, the homeowner association doesn't take care of the common areas, and the homeowners don't take care of their lots. That's what's going to happen.
And there's
It's
no
hard to
there's
sell
no
them
answer for
because
that.
You can drive through a neighborhood, and if you see a house that goes up for rent, generally the landscaping's not very good, and you can see it. It comes down to how you take care of the neighborhood. Now, before this, I will say all my neighborhoods have been gated. That's because I've only had 35, and except for Hyde Park, which is 165. I did 29. I did Elm Ridge, and that's 35. I did Audubon Park, which was 80. I did Audubon Village over on Memorial, and it's gated, but it's only got 29. And Fraser Lake only has 29. So I generally build all the houses too. I draw every house independently. None of them are the same. So, but the rental's going to come down to, generally it's going to be something under 300 or somebody who got in trouble. Somebody overextended. Maybe they lost a job and they're not ready to sell the house. Or right now, it's tough to sell a house, in the market right now. So I see we're going to have another drop in rate this week, they say, but that's going to be good, or next week. But yeah, that's good. So. But that's what's going to happen. It's how we take care of the property and how the homeowner association takes care of those is really what it's going to come down to.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Walmershauser, am I right? Anybody over here? Okay, thank you. Any questions on my left? All right, very well. We'll go ahead and close. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Charlie, Mr.
Appreciate it.
Walmershauser. We'll go ahead and close the floor to the applicant. If you're a member of the public and you'd like to speak on this item, if you're a stakeholder, in other words, you live there or anywhere nearby, we'll consider you a higher priority. You're welcome to come forward and, if you would, try to keep it to 3 to 5 minutes, if you don't mind. Good evening, sir. Merry Christmas to
My name's
you.
Aaron Ferris. I live at 2120 East 128th Place South. Emailed most of you guys last time. Very long email, so I'll save you going back into that. I would like to thank you for asking pressing questions like that. As far as the rental properties are concerned, I've done extensive research on Schubert and Mitchell, so I can answer a few of your questions on that. I actually have their website pulled up right now. In the planning commission meeting, he claimed how they came up on the 1,800 square foot breakpoint. The planning commission asked, like, do they build 1,700 square foot homes? Charlie said no, which goes to show how much he knows about who he's selling these homes to, because the majority of their homes are 1,700 square foot. They have 23 floor plans. They're 1,700 square foot. From there, it jumps up to duplex style homes. I would encourage you to look at their website. And then if you do a really deep dive into Schubert Mitchell and go back and look at their developments that they have built that are 5 years and older, developments that have been there for a while, it does turn into rental city. So I don't know if you guys can halt this and do some further research, but their quality of homes, if you, from my realtor that I talked with, she said the price per square footage given, it goes up as the homes get smaller. For whatever calculation that is, I think Adam Abel can attest to that with being in mortgage and whatnot, but their homes price per square footage actually sell less than what the homes are currently built there. There's plenty of price drops on them. The only other thing that I would bring up is on the amenities. I know that was a big concern. They talk about the pickleball courts and the pools and all that stuff. That's all in our neighborhood. I say it's all in our neighborhood. It's supposed to be in our neighborhood. None of it's been built. We have a swing and a slide. And so I would say if you do approve anything, like, I don't know if you're able to, but make it conditional. Like, let's start to see some progress on the amenities, stuff that you said that you were going to do, because we've got a lot of lip service so far, is what I would say. The covenants that, like, he likes to throw back on us, he doesn't adhere to himself, neither does Schubert and Mitchell. How you can't have lawn equipment, dumpsters, so on and so forth, on any given lot for an extended period of time. I think it specifically states 30 days. I've had a dumpster, bobcat, backhoe in the lot next to me for over 100 days now. So that's who you're dealing with, if you just want the flat-out truth. I would encourage you, go look into Schuber and Mitchell and see who you're inviting into the city of Jenks. Within 5 years, if you approve this, I'll be standing right back up here with pictures showing you, I would say minimum 20 rental homes. Within 10 years, it's going to be 50. They make rental homes. If you go to their Facebook page, is this for rent? Is this for rent? Is this for rent? The clientele they attract are renters. That's all I would have to say.
What's your greatest fear? What's the one thing that bothers you the most about this? If you had to find one.
I would say it was the bait and switch. Everything that he's ever told us, we would speak with him the week of, and he would come up at a planning commission meeting and say something completely different. But the proposed future is the rentals. And I'll be honest, when I first started coming to these meetings, I would come in with an uneducated opinion. And so I took feedback and I started to educate myself and became a self-proclaimed expert on Schuber and Mitchell. And I'm telling you right now, they are rental homes. That's what they turn into. That's what they attract. And if that's what you guys want for this future of the city of Jenks, I mean, so be it. But I would just want to make you guys aware. Look into it. That's what they did. The built-in tubs, cheap carpet, cheap tile, small homes, what they advertise on Zillow is not what they're actually being built. Like they'll go on Zillow, say it's 1,925 square feet, and you actually go out there and you call them, and it's actually 1,714, things like that. I'm indifferent against them. I'm trying to protect my future, future value of my home. I've done extensive research, talked to people that are very qualified. Some people are kind of, you shouldn't really have anything too much to worry about, but I do foresee long-term there being a rental problem, and then that affecting you being able to sell your house in the future, affecting the value of your house in the future. I've talked with 10-plus realtors, mortgage officers, the owners of the companies that are currently own lots in that neighborhood, J. Davis specifically. Beacon Homes, the reason why they left is because Charlie has allowed Schuber and Mitchell to come in and build the way that they have, and it's dropped their comps so far. Amber Davis and Jay Davis, Jason Davis, forget who I spoke with at Beacon Homes, and then Crown Homes, our builder. She has heard different stories from Charlie as well. She was unaware of these changed amenities, and essentially what she had told me is until she finds out what's happening here, she's halting all of her building. She's not going to build anything else from what she currently owns. And if that does get it approved, obviously she can't build there because he supposedly sold all the lots to Schuber and Mitchell. So if my goal was to be transparent for you guys to have the facts and make a decision. So if you guys make that decision to approve this based off of what I've told you, and I would encourage all of you to corroborate anything that I've told you, anything that I've claimed up here. It's all found on the internet. You might have to look for an hour, but it's out there. You can find pictures of their homes in Missouri. You can find pictures of their homes in their neighborhoods. They have lawsuits because the knuckleheads built in a floodplain. And so if you actually go and look at their houses, one of the tactics they like to do is if they build next to a non-Schuber and Mitchell home, they jack the foundation up ridiculously high to make it look comparable to the home that it's next to. And those poor homes, the guy specifically that I'm talking about, forget his address, you get any sort of a rain in his backyard floods because he's got Schuber and Mitchell homes on either side of him. I've got pictures if you guys would like to look at that as well. So that's what Schuber and Mitchell is.
Anybody want to comment on anything, testimony from Mr. Ferris? I would just say this to you because I appreciate those concerns, and it's hard for me to get people to understand and flip and understand what our concerns are. we had this discussion earlier today. The only difference between the people up here and the planning commission and all of you is we took an oath. That oath demands that we follow state statute, which kind of puts us in a box. And it really probably done so for the reason of limiting our power, which is probably pretty smart. What we can't do, or what I don't feel is ethical to do, is to make decisions on discriminating against a builder. But I totally know where you're coming from, but I can also say that there's a problem with rentals becoming a high percentage of the homes in neighborhoods all over Jenks and at higher price points than this. I've already mentioned my previous neighborhood. It's a huge problem there. And we're talking homes that probably cost $100,000 more 10 years ago than these will today, and they're all being rented. I don't necessarily believe tonight that I'm convinced that there's a kind of a home that attracts a renter. I think somebody said it earlier, there's a condition that attracts a renter, and he would know better than anybody, and nobody wants to get a loan at 7%. So people are turning to the next best option. People do want to live under a nice roof with nice amenities, and unfortunately, it's for those people that can't afford to get the mortgage, I don't want to discriminate them. And I've even heard in previous planning commission meetings that some people want to say that these people are less than or more likely to be this kind of person. I was the same person when I was poor that I am today. I still haven't committed any crimes. When I was 23 and I was broke, I'm still the same guy today. I'm just 30 years older. We have to reject those comments because we're not allowed to get caught up in the emotion of them. But I totally understand, and not only that, I'm angered by the rental discussion, and nobody seems to have a solution to that problem. I've even asked staff months ago to let's have some kind of town meeting or some kind of discussion where maybe we can collectively put our heads together and figure out how to solve this problem, if it is indeed even a problem, because not all renters are bad. My next door neighbor in Eddington Place, Cleve Patterson, great man, and still is, but for whatever reason, he knew his business was seasonal. He came in, did a great thing, started a business like he always does, gets it up and running, sells it, and moves on. Did it in Austin. Makes a very good living, but doesn't own a home. So we have to be real careful about labeling renters. We also have to be very careful about discriminating against a builder that none of us have never met. Very disappointed that they're not here. I think it's poor salesmanship to not come and talk about your product. But I would also tell you that I do know, because I get lots of calls, there are really, really expensive builders who leave their backhoes and all that in the lots forever. And I call these guys like, come on.
That's just an emotional complaint.
No, it's okay, but you're allowed to be that way because you've made an investment. And according to you, promises haven't been made. So my question that I would like answered before the night's over is, I've heard this story before. I've lived it. My neighborhood that I moved from didn't become what it was because of somebody else came in and bought all the lots, and then the promises ended. I really like the amenities, and I like the look of this neighborhood. So how can we guarantee that it will look like this in the end? I'm with you.
Thank you.
If you were sold something and it hasn't been delivered, you should probably not, I get the trust issue. And I don't blame you for not trusting us. But I also just want you to know there's a big difference between, we can't let emotion and heart get into this, because sooner or later, it's only a matter of time, we're just all gonna get sued.
Yeah.
So that's the angle we're coming from. I agree with you. If we can solve, that's why I wanted to ask you, what's your big sticking point? Because maybe we can come to a compromise and figure out a good middle ground here. But I can tell you, if 5 years from now, when I'm off doing whatever I'm doing, if I drive through and there's no pickleball courts, I'm gonna lose faith in everything we've ever done here, because everything seems to be, when it comes to residential construction, I don't know if it was you on the planning commission, but somebody I thought used the word bait and switch.
Oh, yeah, no, it was thrown around pretty
Okay.
loosely last one, because that's
So,
what this is.
before we end the night,
Yes, it is.
before we end the evening, if there's some way we can feel good about, how does what we vote on actually come to a reality? I would love to know that, because I don't have the answer for you.
Yeah, because the last thing I would say is the pool I mean, it's kind of, it was a dream. It's turned into a nightmare. It's changed 5 times. We've had 5 stories as to why it's not there. I've got state licensing. Oh, it's going to be this big. It's going to be that big. So we just kind of tune it out at that point.
Just real quickly, what do you not have that you were,
Pickleball court, pool, walking trails.
okay. Okay. All right,
Sidewalks don't constitute walking trails, Charles.
all right. Anything else, Mr. Ferris?
That'll be it.
Thank you, appreciate your time, sir. Anyone else, stakeholders in and around the neighborhood? Sir, you can have way more confidence tonight than you did last
I'll
time.
do my best. My name is Josh Glasscock.
I
12922 South 20th Place,
Yeah.
East in Fraser
Well,
Meadows.
welcome and Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas, everyone. All right. So I feel like with this whole thing, everyone is getting distracted with the private gates and the amenity package. We're not paying attention to the sizes of the homes. I bought the very first house in Fraser Meadows. The original PUD, I still cannot get a hold of. I feel like it's changed multiple times in Fraser Meadows, Fraser 3 and 4, whatever we're at now. I don't know what this is called, I'm sorry. Is it Lakes? This is Falls now?
Yeah.
Alright. So I feel like we're veering off. It was supposed to be bigger than Fraser Meadows, and now it's smaller. So it looks like he's saying for rental properties, which he has 4 rental properties, which are empty nesters in Fraser Meadows, correct? Which you've seen those, if people live one out. He rents those to the Schubert Mitchell contractors, actually, and his daughter. So let's just put that out there. No empty nesters are out there. It's just us. We don't want to share the amenities with another group of smaller homes. I mean, we all bought bigger houses for a reason. I bought my house with a VA home loan. I mean, I can't afford a big giant home like this. It's not a thing. I mean, but where I'm coming from is, I feel like we're just really honestly ignoring the lot sizes. That's where my agreement is. We originally were at 2,200, now we're at 1,700. It's a huge difference. We went from a $350,000 starting point, now we have none. I just feel like there's not really nothing planned. Planning Commission honestly just pushed it through. That's all I have.
Can we get your name again for the record, sir?
Josh Glasscock?
Are you a veteran?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your service.
Pleasure.
Well, I'll ask you the same question. Looking at what we're seeing tonight, what's the primary concern for you? Is it the size of the house?
The lot sizes, yes. It's honestly, because most of the homes that we all bought, I bought mine through Butler. There's another gentleman that has the exact same house as me. I mean, our houses are both bigger than every Schubert Mitchell they're building.
Yeah.
The Schubert Mitchells that they have built in our homes right now, they've turned into offices. They don't even meet the requirements that Fraser Meadows have. They've somehow slipped through the cracks, like Charlie's homes slipped through the cracks. They get amended, and we don't know how. Then the PUD comes up missing. We don't know where that's at. That's where I'm at on that.
And I want to remind you before you go, assuming you're finished, we said it earlier, we can't regulate the square footage of the home, but our influence is on the size of the lot. Obviously, if the lot gets smaller, that reduces some opportunities for the size of the home. If it gets bigger, it creates more opportunity. So,
What about the livable space? We change the livable space?
I'll find out for you before the night's over. So you're asking, can we regulate livable space?
If that
How do you
possibly
define
is
livable
something-
space?
I mean,
Because I'm sure there's 3 definitions for it.
I'm sure, I don't know all the building terminology and stuff. I just feel like these 1,700 square foot homes we're building 2 of the exact same lots side by side. That's the point. Does
Okay.
it make sense?
So you livable spaces under the roof, heated and air-conditioned space under the roof line? Okay, all right. Anything else, sir?
Thank Perfect, that's all I got.
Appreciate your time. Thank you for your service. What branch of service were you in?
Marine Corps,
How long?
5 years.
Really? Yeah. Still a Marine then?
Yeah, always, always. Yes, sir. Afghanistan.
Okay. He spent half his, well, actually, he's older than that. He spent a percentage of his life there. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate your time, sir. Anyone else? Stakeholders first, please. All right. Anyone else have any comments as related to this Jenks zoning item number? Yes, ma'am, you may.
I'm like the worst public speaker, and my face is gonna get bright red, so I'm sorry
No,
about that.
you're good. Welcome and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
If we could have your, go ahead, name and address for the record, please.
12922, that was actually my husband, but we don't share the same last name, so.
Okay.
My name is Kelsey Vaverka. I don't know if you guys need me to spell that. I think you keep asking what the main concern is. I think the main concern is renters. I know you guys can't discriminate against renters, but coming from a home that I lived nearly 20 years in with my parents that were renters, it opened up the window for a lot of bad things to happen. I think, I'm not saying all renters are bad. I've been a renter, obviously kept up with amenities and stuff like that, but it opened up for people, because a lot of times renters just want to rent and make their money. If you pass the background check, if you can pay it, great. But growing up, literally it opened up the window of being stalked, gun violence, etc. I'm not saying it's going to be that bad, but it opens up that window. And if there's no HOA that says, no, we can't have any renters, and people just rent out, I think that's going to be a huge problem. Also, if you guys have not been out to Fraser Meadows, I hate talking in public, I'm so sorry.
Good.
The amenities are, yeah, they look great on paper, but I really encourage you guys to come out there and look. There's no way a pool is gonna hold that many people, especially where the lot is. There's absolutely no way. The playground is very small, the amenities have not been built. We were the first ones in there, we lived there for 2 years. They were supposed to be built in November. After we moved in June. So I think it's just a lot of broken promises and no trust, basically, but I really encourage you guys to go out there because these amenities are not capable of being built anywhere as large as Charlie is claiming. And it's not going to hold anywhere close to even the people that live there currently. But being a first-time parent, I just am really, that's my main concern is the renters, just because I grew up with mainly a neighborhood with renters and ran into a lot of problems. So it took a lot to get out, and now we're just getting pushed back in there, and I'm just concerned about that. So I know you guys can't discriminate, but I just want you to, if you guys are, you know, have children or young children, to consider that. And their safety, basically.
Before you go, what is the status of the amenities that
Sweaty.
you're?
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. I never understood why people don't like talking to us. We're the nicest people, and
Maybe next time
I say
won't
hi to
sweat,
everybody
but I'm
at the gas
sweating
station.
right now.
What is the status of the amenities in your neighborhood? In your opinion, are they coming, or are they likely never to come, or are they in limbo?
Well, we were told they'd be done in November when we moved in June, almost 2 years ago.
Okay.
The second people to move in were moving in November. We're also told the same thing, they were not built. I know our neighbors were told before they moved in, beginning of this year, that they'd be done during the summer, not built. So, I don't have faith that they're gonna be built anytime soon.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
You did a great job. Merry Christmas to you. Anyone else? Public comments? Item number 3, Jenks zoning 24, major amendment number 1. Very well. We will close the floor to public comment. We can bring it back to council, or we can give the applicant an opportunity for a brief rebuttal. What do you guys want to do? Want to get Charlie back? Okay, we'll bring the floor back open to the applicant. We know who you are now. We'll call you Charlie Whiskey.
I have done several neighborhoods with amenities. You never build the pool until phase two because you have too many liability issues if there's only 10 people living there, because houses weren't selling very fast, and you got a pool. You never build them. You go to Simmons, you go to all the neighborhoods, they build them after the first phase is done. Torrey Lakes is just around the corner from us, and they just put their pool in, and it's been there 3.5 years. We have the pool done. She's submitted it for a permit. I don't know why it hasn't come out. She submitted it a couple of weeks ago, finally. We've graded the pickleball court, but you can't pour the base to build the pickleball court until it's above 40 consistently, so we're not going to be able to do it until about February, because it has to cure for 60 days before you can put the coating on. I've already signed the contract, already paid the deposit. The pool's already been signed the contract, I've already paid the deposit. Those things are going to be in next spring. Nobody was ever told they were going to be in the first year, nobody. Their realtors may have told them that, but I didn't tell them that. And I haven't talked to any of these people except through an email that they do me. Nobody's really called me. Kelsey was the first one to email me, but I only just commented with them through emails. I've never talked to any of these people. But I'm not going to not do the amenities. They're all going to be in there, so. But you can't do them up front. There's too much construction going on. You still got utility companies running through. That's why we had to wait for a while, because that East Central is now putting in the fiber optics, and they came in after we were all done and ran right through the pool area. I had to have them stop and pull it all out. So, it just, things just happen. So you never really do it until phase two, but they will be in by the spring. The pool may not be until March or April or May, because they have to get the water cured, they have to cure it and everything. I fully intend to turn the heater on as soon as it's done in May, and they can start using it Labor Day, if we can get these pool builders to build it. Now, has anybody built a pool before? You guys know how long it takes? They tell you 3 months, and it takes 8 months, right? Yes. So just be ready. And Yorktown has 570 homes, and their pool is the same size as ours. So, huh? They have a little bitty play pool, and then they have the regular size pool. That's all they have.
So, Charlie, are you committed to building the amenities that
All the amenities will be.
that are in Fraser's 3 and 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
That will stay Fraser Falls, by the way.
Okay.
And everybody will get to use everything, so.
Okay. Any questions for Charlie while we have him up here for the
And I'm
second
not
time from
concern-
council?
I'm a little concerned why that gentleman said there's no walk path. We put a real nice walk trail in through the woods. Did you see it when you were there? Have you walked it? No. It's got a little bridge going over the outlet and everything. There's a real nice walk trail in there. So,
Concrete or,
it's concrete,
Okay.
5-foot concrete walkway, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
we poured it all the way around, so. Anyway,
I have
that's all
some
I can
public
say.
relations work to do with the,
Well, Schubert may have to, but now, I went over and looked at their houses over there. They do have some of the low-end neighborhoods like he's talking about, but they also have their upper neighborhoods, and they promised me these were the upper neighborhoods.
okay.
They're not gonna do the low-end stuff. They're paying too much for the lots. Their lots were not sold to them cheaper than what these people are. And they're asking 193 a square foot for their houses, so they're not dropping the rate, so.
Charlie, what are the lot prices? Charlie? Right,
Over
sorry.
here, Charlie.
Oh,
What are the lot prices that you're selling?
they were all 71, 72, up to 78, depending upon if you're on the lake or if you're in that common area back there where you've got the nice, all the woods and everything that's back there. So, I could hear Kevin, but I didn't know what you said. I couldn't hear very strong. Anything else?
Good?
Thank you. It
Thank
will
you.
look good, I promise you.
Thank you,
You've been
Charlie.
in all my other neighborhoods, everything's done.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
So, let's get back to the question, because it's been around, hanging out for a long time. How do we, as a municipal government, ensure that amenities in a PUD actually come to fruition? There's a good chance half or all of us will be gone by the time some of these neighborhoods ever get built. So we're not going to be around to fact check but do we have any mechanism in place as a municipal government where we can go back and maybe deny an occupancy permit or not
Yeah, I mean,
pass?
we've done,
Okay.
sorry.
No, I'm just.
Yeah, we, in the last 5 years, we've had developments that are, I'd say, half developed. And there's all sorts of requirements that home builders and, if the HOA has not been turned over to the actual homeowners, the developer's responsible for silt fences, all sorts of stuff like trash. And we've gone to, I won't name, but developments, and we've put a stop on certificates of occupancy. We've stopped inspecting, and we said, you know, both to the developer and the builders, if you guys aren't doing what you're supposed to do, we're just going to stop inspecting, and so you can't move forward. And so I think it's been effective. And it really hasn't come down to the amenities so much. I mean, in some cases, but it really is about kind of the day-to-day trash, silt fence, stuff like that is what really comes up, because in the end, the developers do, I mean, I can't think of any developer that hasn't come through doing the amenity they say they're gonna do. It's just usually at the end is when these things happen. And so it's more the day-to-day nuisances that I think our staff deals with. And so if this developer says they're gonna do something, you know, I have not seen an example where they don't do it.
Thank you, Mr. Strout. Ms. Hilton, were you going to comment?
When you approve a planned unit development document, for instance, on page 133, it lists what the shared community amenities are, and they are legally bound to this document, and so they have to build these amenities or come back and ask for an amendment.
Okay.
Which is a public process, and they sometimes change their mind, and it can happen. But today, as approved, as written, those amenities are required and would be enforced by the city.
Okay. And I don't recall that happening since you and I have been around, that somebody's come back and asked an amendment to provide less than what was promised.
Not
Yeah.
an amenity, I've never known of an
Yeah.
Is there a reason why we can't find the PUD on?
I am not sure. I have the PUD, I don't understand the problem.
Can we check that for?
We have to have it on
I
file.
can give it to them tonight.
Yeah, wouldn't the plat be on on Tulsa County?
Not the plat, PUD.
The
PUD.
PUD.
But the PUD requirements are
Or on the,
listed,
And-
on the plat?
are they not now?
They are.
Okay, can we just direct that to them so that they have that
I'll get it from
information?
tonight. If there's been a request, I may have misunderstood the request.
That's okay.
We'll get it.
Yeah.
I absolutely have the PUD for sure. I mean, digitally, I don't have a big stack of them sitting up there.
Well, I'll say this to the folks in the next door neighbors. I wanted you to understand what we can and can't do. We're going to avoid discriminating against a builder. I have no evidence tonight that said builder is poor, high quality, low quality. We don't want to be in the business of finding out. The market will determine whether or not the homes are any good, and should they not have a poor quality product, they won't sell, the mortgages won't be made, and then, you know, that's kind of their loss. And hopefully at that point, something good happens. I have seen evidence where something good has happened and somebody's come in and turned a neighborhood around. What I will tell you is this: I don't know who here will be sitting in these chairs when the time comes, but if either one of you, if we know who you are now, feel like in next spring or next summer, these promises haven't been kept, the first thing I would encourage you to do is have a conversation with Charlie and get that clear. And if there's still a clear gap between what's promised, and if you have reason to believe none of this is going to happen, then call one of us and we will remind them. They have a vested interest in continuing to do this again, and we have, you know, we'll remember if those promises weren't kept. And Mr. Bell, he's here all the time. If he keeps coming to us with undelivered things, and sooner or later his success in getting his job done for the people that he represents and consults for won't work. So we want to make sure these promises are kept. I think at this point, there's just a gap between what he knows he does for a living and maybe what you guys know. And obviously there's a communication misunderstanding that I hope you guys can get past. But we will advocate for you when the time is right. And if you call I'll call him, and if the promises aren't kept, then we'll get engaged and we will help you. Who up? That clear? Well, whatever you want it to be. What noises do you guys make?
Hoorah.
Oh, hoorah.
Hoorah.
Okay, whatever. I knew it was something.
Hoorah.
I'm an Air Force guy.
Yeah.
We're in stealth mode. We
Yeah,
keep
we're
our
in
mouth
stealth mode.
shut.
We have no sounds.
Yeah, we don't make sounds. We disappear. Yeah, that's what he does. Yeah. So you have my commitment. We'll do that, okay? So give it time. But nothing he said doesn't sound too unfamiliar to me, having to go back in time and think about what house number I was at 184 in my previous neighborhood just down the street, and then thinking back when the pool came in. Yeah, I think it kind of makes sense at some point. There's a logical point to provide those amenities. And I would even say when the whole neighborhood's under construction and you've got nails in the road and dirt flying everywhere, and it's, trust me, we're going to hear all the complaints, and none of them play by the rules and keep it clean to the standards that I think we would want them to. Probably not a good time to have a pool anyway. So I would ask you to consider that as you guys watch your neighborhood evolve, okay? Last call for council. Questions, comments? Item number 3, Mr. Brown?
Yeah, Mr.
Wrap
Mayor.
it up, sir.
Yeah, going back to some of the questions here, just as a notation, there was a question about the livable space. Typically, what we list as square footage is going to be what the market follows, which is based on appraisals, which is going to be livable space, not exterior. It's not the exterior of the house. It's going to be livable space, which will normally exclude garages, closets, patios, those types of things. And then coming back to one of the things that we do not have on this particular proposal, I didn't see a proposed HOA agreement. And I know, as Charlie had mentioned, that, you know, if a development has not gone past a certain point where the HOA kicks in, it's falling on the developer. So we don't have any language on that. And the other piece that we normally would see, we mentioned phase 1, phase 2, would we have some restrictive covenants on different phases on this particular proposal? At what point the amenities have to be put in place? I know we've seen that in other developments, and I didn't see that in this one.
In regards to amenities, there is a general idea, but not really a specific timeline. And we've spoken internally and kicked around the idea of development agreements where maybe outside of the council meeting and outside of the planned unit development, we went into a contract, so to speak, with the developer that was a little bit more specific about, okay, we know you're gonna put the sanitary sewer in at this time. We all sign off on and agree to it. We know that you're gonna put the pool in after X percentage of lots have been built out, things like that. We haven't done that. I do not have time to do one.
No,
more
I
thing.
understand that.
But
And-
that is one of the
yeah.
ways that we have thought to possibly manage that expectation. And as far as the HOA, I was gonna look, I didn't see it. There will be an HOA. I think he does make some reference to it, but if you make a motion, I think that it is fair to just note that an HOA is required. He's talked about it repeatedly, so I am sure that there is going to be an HOA, but it's also fine to include that in the motion.
Yeah, I just know that some of the developments, we've had phases that have been spelled out very clearly, and others have not. Timing of HOA coming in place has been spelled out sometimes, sometimes not. Let me shift off of that then, and then
It
come
does,
back.
excuse me, one second.
Go ahead, that's
If you
fine.
look on page 135, it does say homeowners association, the development will have a mandatory homeowners association for maintenance of common areas. The subdivision will be annexed to the Fraser Meadows HOA and will have access to the amenities of both subdivisions, so it is required.
Yeah, just not saying when it would come in, if it's 50%, 40%, 60%. And we've seen that in the past.
What's the standard, 75% of the lots?
And it,
66%?
It's usually during the plating. a lot of
All right.
times.
We do that during the plating? Okay.
Okay.
And maybe that's why we don't have it here, because we're on the initial, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
And just an FYI, when you have, say it's 66% in the neighborhood and you have an HOA and the builder still owns the lot, They have 33% of the vote.
They got 33%.
So you gotta be careful, because you won't get anything passed if you're in disagreement. This has happened, been there. So just be aware, those lots have to sell before you have a majority vote,
Just,
or a majority.
just as an observation, with concerns about the developers, and I'm throwing this out to council, could we establish policy, something we codify, if we have a developer that is falling short on commitments, that where it's been brought to council, or we can place a moratorium on new developments or improvement of any new approvals? Is that something we can enact as a body?
We've actually talked about when we've had issues with developers. I mean, each development is unique, and we don't do that. So we haven't, it's something I
Just because we
guess.
haven't in the past, or?
No, I think it's literally, there's legal and.
We have the authority to enforce the PUD,
Yeah,
Okay.
and we will
yeah.
use whatever means we need. to
So that
enforce
would
the
be
PUD.
something we could do if we had. So then,
The
coming
enforcement
back,
we can.
coming back then to those that are present, just reiterating something that the mayor said, we have to follow what we have established within the UDO, which is one of the reasons why I was trying to get this into conformity on those lot sizes. Because the thing that made this a major amendment is the fact that the density was changing. So if we were in conformity on the lot sizes, the only piece that's no longer conforming in would be on the lot area. So that's why I was suggesting we try to get it back off of those 50-foot lots, just so it's falling within the UDO, which basically puts it back to what we've codified as part of our ordinances. The other thing that I would throw back to council, again, concerns about rental, fair housing laws. We cannot, as a body, do anything that's going to go against federal law. And anything that would make housing unaffordable within our community, that could come back against the city. So we have to be careful about that. But could we not have, and I'm not proposing this here, but just thinking forward, restrictive covenants within a homeowners association on owner-occupied restrictions? 80% of the properties within an HOA have to be owner-occupied.
I mean, it's private property. I really,
We can't dictate that.
I'm asking a legal question to council. Can we have a restrictive covenant within a development that requires a certain percentage to be owner-occupied, or that remains owner-occupied?
HOA.
Right.
Yes, they can do.
HOAs.
I don't think we can do that.
But the HOA, so that could be something that an HOA could propose to protect the development and the homeowners that are in there.
I mean, there might be some logistical difficulties in a percentage, so which lots are governed and all that, but the HOA can put some restrictions on owner-occupied rentals.
And that's a great question, and I've had this conversation with about 3 HOA presidents. The challenge is they can't get 75% of the eligible, the people that live there to vote.
Sure.
So this is a great example of, do not give the government this power, give it back to the homeowner.
Yeah.
But they can't even get people to show up to vote.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they're stuck with this scenario here. I think that, there's really nice homes that are being rented all over this city. Really nice houses. I know people paying $3,000, $3,500 a month for rent. And I don't know how to stop it, but
Yeah.
if the HOAs can get mobilized early on, or even the older HOAs can get together and get that 3/4 vote, then they have a hope in doing something. And frankly, but I get the other side too. If I own a home and I want to rent it and I can't sell it, I don't want you stopping me from renting it. But if I did sign an HOA covenant that says I'd pay some sort of fine or fee on top of my HOA dues for the year, then.
Yeah,
But-
you're right, unintended consequences. If you can't rent it out and then it goes into default because you can't afford to pay there's the
You
other
talk
side
to
of
any
it.
HOA president right now, anywhere in Jenks,
Yeah.
even in nice communities, they can't even get people to pay their HOA dues. There's much bigger problems than the one we're
Yeah.
talking about. And I don't think government solves any of them.
I would say on livability space, that is not governed by the city or by the Unified Development Ordinance.
Correct.
And the challenge too, because for the public, is there's 5 different entities measuring the square footage of a home 5 different ways. And for you who had a VA loan, like I had to get one, that's when you find out that everybody measures square footage differently. So for up here, we have to eliminate that from the conversation. It's something we can't even think about because we can't even verify it anymore. There's so many disparities in how things like that are measured. Mr. Emmons, did you have a comment? Sir?
Yeah, just real quick, I live in RS3, and there's probably, I don't know, 10 or 20 homes in our neighborhood that are rented, and our neighborhood is awesome. Renters, it's not the lot size, and it's not necessarily the developers that cause problems with renters. So just my little tidbit.
Anyone else? Last call, council on item 3. I think we beat it up pretty good.
Yeah, we did.
All right, we'll go ahead and close the floor to council on comments, and we can entertain some kind of motion or move forward. Do you guys think if you wait it out long enough, I'll do it? Don't play that game with me. It don't work. While you're thinking, did you, Ms. Hilton, suggest earlier, you made a suggestion in the motion tonight to, can you remind me what it was? You don't remember? I know a lot of time has passed, but.
Yeah, it's in the PUD, so it wasn't necessary.
So not necessary, okay. So it sounds like the sticking point was size of lots, so.
Yeah,
Make sure your motion is appropriate and definitive.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I motion to approve with the exception that I would like to stay with the 55-foot lot size.
Minimum.
Second.
Minimum, yeah, sorry.
And the other recommendations made by Planning Commission? There were nine recommendations. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Second.
we have a proper motion and we had a second. Any debate on the motion? I'll debate that for a moment. Are we suggesting that we can't have the smallest lot will be 55? Because that's different than not a 50, okay. No 50 could be 52.
That's my understanding, what they mean.
Is that how you understood it? Okay, so we have a proper motion and a second to approve this PUD as presented with the one exception that we eliminate the proposed lot sizes under 55.
And that would bring it back conforming.
Okay,
I said to conform to it.
Roger, okay, understood. All right, we have a proper motion, a second. Any further debate? Very well, let's vote, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Short,
Yes.
Emmons,
Yes.
Ogier,
Yes.
Abel,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes. Item number 4 is the emergency clause for ordinance number 1656. Motion on the emergency clause, item number 4.
Motion approved is presented.
Second.
Thank you both very much. Let's vote, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Short,
Yes.
Emmons,
Yes.
Ogier,
Yes.
Abel,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, item 5 is major amendments to the comprehensive plan land use map. Council may consider each item separately or in one motion. We're going to start off with item number 1, which is PA 24-38 residential medium intensity, proposed to go to local commercial, general location being 1119 West Main Street and 360 North Juniper. We'll wait for Mrs. Hilton. Does anybody need a quick break?
I just want to give the Marine my phone number.
Yeah. We can, yeah, she'll go through them. We'll vote on them all at once, or, yeah.
You have a jacket. You have a jacket. Good.
I brought mine too.
Thank you.
Okay, we are back to item number 5, which is the major amendments. Mrs. Hilton, welcome back. We're going to talk about PA 24-38. And we are on page
157.
157, if you're following along.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, and staff. There are 5 major amendments and some text language. So I'm going to go through the major amendments first. But I'm going to ask you to strike through number 2, which is PA 2439. We're not going to vote on that this evening. When we put it on the agenda, we did not get the correct address, so we'll bring it back to you with the correct address. So PA 2438, and let's go ahead and turn, oh, look at you go. Can you go to the next one? It's got the description, thank you. Okay. So number 1 is that little area that we have looked at on Main Street a couple of times. And this gentleman did reach out to us. He hasn't followed up, but we went ahead and decided we would clean it up. So these are the 3 lots. We had a dentist coming on 2 of the lots and had the 2 lots under contract. We got those to local commercial, and we were just gonna take the 3rd one. So this is just a cleanup on our part. He did request it, but like I said, he didn't follow up, and the dentist is no longer under contract based on what I understand. Number 2, we're gonna skip that one tonight. Number 3, this is I've always called River District, because when I first came 4.5 years ago, almost 5, I found a really large map of the drawing of their grand plans. It had a canal and everything. It's probably over 20 years old, and so I've always called it the River District, which has confused absolutely everybody. So on our comp plan, it still shows that it's all parks and open space, but in reality, we have known for 20 years that this was not going to be parks and open space. This is going to be really cool, amazing, super awesome stuff. So we're going to amend that to regional commercial if that is the area you want to go. I did, somehow I grabbed, I think when I clicked on the data on the map, it pulled that whole river edge there, but that would not be part of this amendment. So number 4 is cleanup. This is the property that we have a plat approved on the hard corner for commercial, and we have the preliminary plat approved, I believe, and we're getting ready for final plat. This little piece kind of in the middle, we had hard commercial adjacent to Elm, and then this area was in the PUD that was approved is supposed to be storage. And so I'm cleaning it up so that it better reflects what the use is that's going there. And number 5, the last one that I'm asking you to approve, this is, it shows on the map that this is medium intensity, single family. I think it's medium. And is it low? So if you were doing the numbers, you would think that there could be 60 to 150 homes there, but in fact, that has been purchased by a church. They have an approved specific use permit. So I'm asking you all to approve changing that land use map plan from residential to public, semi-public, which would better reflect. Dandelion lot.
Yeah, it's like in the middle of the whole lot. Okay.
Yes. So the little dandelion would stay yellow. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Hilton. Any questions from council on items 1, 3, 4, or 5? No questions at all? All right, very well. Thank you. We can entertain a motion if you'd like to make one.
I'll make a motion to approve 1, 3, 4, and 5.
Second.
Pulling on number 2, PA 2439.
Okay, we thank you. We have a proper motion and a second to approve Item 5, items, sub-items 1, 3, 4, and 5. Let's vote, please.
Brown.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Emmons.
Yes.
Ogier.
Yes.
Abel.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes. Item number 6 is ordinance number 1655 related to Jenks zoning 24-696, amending the underlying zoning of a piece of property to the downtown transition overlay, repealing all the ordinances therefore within, providing for severability and declaring an emergency. We're talking about the address being 715 and 719 East Apache Place. Mrs. Hilton.
Thank you, Mayor Box. This applicant is not here this evening. They came to several of the meetings. It's been continued several times, and they're not here tonight. Maybe they are doing something really fun about Christmas. Be nice, right? So this is 715 and 719 East Apache Place, and I think if you look at the map on page 165, it's a very interesting little street. So to the south is a neighborhood in a dead end with a cul-de-sac. And to the east are the apartment complexes. Can you go to page 165 and maybe zoom in on the zoning map, please? Thank you, Brendan. Then you have 2 lots in the middle of a bunch of RTC that is still single-family residential. And this applicant came, they are really rezoning for speculative purposes. They wanted to kind of get it ready for sale. They currently have their daughter living in one of the homes, renting it, and I believe the other one is also a rental. There's at least one more home to the west that is, everything on that street is a rental. So we have RTC on 3 sides and residential on the bottom. I had several people come to me, including Councilor Brown, with concerns about the transition there between the residential and the RTC. So in the end, Planning Commission approved keeping it RS1 and putting the downtown transition overlay. And we don't talk about this very often. It was approved during the ordinance adoption for the Unified Development Ordinance. It's pretty cool little overlay. It allows for a list of uses, which you can see on page 173 by right, so they don't have to come back, as long as they meet the conditions of approval. So she was happy to do that. It gives her a little more liberty. And staff put some conditions, such as if it redevelops or these structures are retrofit for commercial purposes, we would recommend that the property owner use the north access rather than the street there to the south. So that would become more like an alley access. With that being said, staff and Planning Commission do recommend approval.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Hilton. Any questions from council on my right? JZ 24-696. Questions on my left? Okay, thank you. I can close the floor to council. We can open this up briefly to public comment if anybody would like to. All right, very well. We'll close the floor to the public. We're back on item 6. No questions, no comments from council. We can entertain a motion, please.
Make a motion that we approve JZ 24-696 as presented.
Second.
Let's amend the motion to approve the ordinance, not the,
Correct.
yeah, if you would, please,
Do it again.
if you don't mind.
Yep. Yeah, the case. 24-696, a rezoning.
Can you
I miss that?
reference the ordinance number in your
Oh,
motion?
the ordinance number? Where's
Yeah.
that at? I didn't see it on there. Is it on there?
1655.
1655, thank you. I'm looking on the proposal itself.
You want to, can you read that back one more time? So
Yes.
it's Crystal.
Approve JZ 24-696 and ordinance 1655 as presented.
We'll accept that.
I second.
Thank you. We have a proper motion and a second. Let's vote, please.
Brown.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Emmons.
Yes.
Ogier.
Yes.
Abel.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes, sir. Item 7 is the emergency clause for, item 7 is the emergency clause for ordinance number 1655.
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
Thank you both. We have proper motion and second. Let's vote, please.
Brown.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Emmons.
Yes.
OJ.
Yes.
Abel.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Mayor Box.
Yes. Mr. Shrout, anything on your city manager's report?
Mayor and members of council, you have the reports in your packet, and there's been some questions about, I believe, the letter that went out related to lead pipes, and Mr. Carr will address that and clear up any confusion and answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shrout. Any council members, anything they want to talk about briefly? Committee reports?
Mr. Schrott, do we have an update on our sales tax delta year over year? Is it similar?
Yeah, we are up over 20% year over year, and I believe the December sales tax numbers were slightly down from November, but still up over 25%. It's just, we had a month and a half without the mall. But we will see in January, more than likely, the full numbers for Black Friday and everything that happened over the Thanksgiving holiday, so.
Great. Thank you very much for that update.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Anyone else, council? All right. Yes, Mr. Brown.
I want to hear Mr. Carr, but I did have a meeting today with the Go Plan with INCOG, and they did give us some information on the trail plans for Turkey Mountain down along the river. And they said that the plan is to put it on the toe of the levee to the riverside. So that's where we'll be working from. I know the questions come up on developments that have been in reference to that space. So that's the feedback I had today.
Yes, sir. We've received some concept plans showing the entire route all the way from Turkey Mountain down to Riverwalk, that segment, and then it starts back up again in back of the hotel on Aquarium Drive and goes south from there. We haven't gotten with the engineers yet to give them all of our comments, but the first segment coming down from the north is pretty clear on what to do. We've just got some clarifications to make on what's going to happen on the other segment. But it's moving forward. They're, just as a point of information, I believe they're supposed to have the final plans done by June of next year, and then construction has to be done, I think, in it's either 2 or 3 years for all of the projects that they've got. That includes both the west and the east side of the river. But it's kind of unclear on where they're tying into, meaning where the low water dam is going to be located and how they would tie into that. But we're going to be meeting, I think it's Thursday, with some engineers that are involved in the low water dam design now. So looks like that may be getting ready to move forward also.
And we may need to kind of give them an update on the sale of the real estate that has sold south of the creek and Dr. Kuzalina's property, because I did see the renderings for the trails and the park and the dam, and I don't think they're aware of the fact that somebody owns that now.
I mentioned that too.
Yeah.
During the meeting.
Well, it's on the plans, it's on the concept plan, because we told them that it has to go in the easement that we have received for the, in the raw development.
Okay, well, as long as you know and they know,
It's on the
fine.
plan.
Okay, good enough.
They know that. It took them about 5 times for me to tell them, but they understood it finally.
Yeah. I may have misinterpreted what I saw. Okay, very well. Anything else from council? Okay, I'll give you a Christmas gift, no mayor's report. And since Mr. Carr's already here,
I was just wiping my hands.
The time is 8:09. We will call the city council meeting adjourned.
You don't want to hear my report?
I thought we were going to do it in the next one. No?
We can do it in either one. I'll just stand here for a while.
You don't feel like standing there for a while? Okay. All right, I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and rescind my adjournment. I'm sorry.
I mean, I know it took me a while to get up here, but give me a break, will you?
Thanks for the laugh, brother. Go ahead and say exactly what you came up here to say. My apologies.
I know that there has been a lot of confusion about the letter that went out concerning the lead service lines. Just to give you a little bit of back history on it, EPA, in their infinite wisdom, has decided that universally in the United States, because of issues that they had in Flint, Michigan, that everybody else has to come in line with doing things that are going to eliminate lead so that everybody can stay healthy. Now, I don't disagree with some of that, but the issue that really has been a big issue with all of the municipalities operating water systems is that EPA is trying to remove all of lead service lines that have gone into houses, and not only to the meter, but also from the meter into the house on private property. That's where most of the municipalities are having the big issue is you're asking us to work on private property all over our cities, that we really don't want to have to do that. But then on the other side, if you're a homeowner and you have to do something, a lot of them won't have the funds available to remove anything that might need to be removed. But at the stage we're at right now, the letter that went out was a requirement of EPA that had to go out to anybody that we could not identify what type of service lines they've had. Now, if you're new construction, most of your service lines are going to be a plastic material, and you're not going to be dealing with old lead service lines. But if you get prior to about 1984, a lot of the lines that were put in would have been galvanized steel, which is a lead line, and the piping, maybe even inside houses, would be have lead solder on them. And the brass that was being used at that time had lead in it. The brass standards changed, so we don't have any issues with any of that right now. But there's a lot of unknowns. And we were required to do an inventory of every water service connection in the city, every one of them, to determine what kind of material would have been coming from the main to the meter, and then from the meter into the house, or whatever we're providing service to. And we tried to do the best we possibly could, and we hired a consultant to help us do this inventory. And they took data from our water billing department, as much as anybody knew, but a lot of the information was missing on when the actual date was that they got service provided there initially. So we didn't know exactly what type of material might be from the meter into the house or even to the main. So we did the inventory. They put this list together, and there were 1,800 of them that were unknown. They really could not determine at that time what the type of service line would be. Now, 1,800 out of 83 or 8,400 it's a fairly large amount, and they're scattered all over the city. There's pockets of them. I know Councilor Brown was thinking that, well, the biggest pocket's going to be in the old part of town because that's the ones that were put in first. That's very true. There is a big pocket there. But we've also got a whole subdivision, Glenwood South, over by Highway 75, we don't have any data on. There's other pockets, but there's also individual dots all over the place, 1,800 of them. So EPA said we had to send out a letter to all of these unknown users of our system and tell them that we were going to be doing something. Now, I think, and the letter that went out it was called Water Service Line Customer Notice Unknown Service Line Material. We're only talking about the service line materials. Now, there's some confusion about, well, what kind of water do I have going into my house? We weren't sampling for that. That's not required at this point in time. We do sample for lead periodically, and it's like every 3 years we have to do lead sampling around our community. And we do that. We talk to some of the property owners, and we get information on what the lead is. We have them take a water sample at their faucet. They give us the bottle, we go get it analyzed, and we can see if there's lead. There has not been any in any places that we've surveyed, and this has been going on for about 9 or 10 years already. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about water quality. We're talking about the type of material that's going to the houses. And when EPA put this together, they had some specific things that they were telling DEQ that we needed to have in the letter. I would not have stated it the way they did. I changed it. I told them we didn't want to say it like that, and they said, tough, do it anyway. This is required by EPA. And I think it scared people, you know. What are the health effects of lead? Well, it's nice to know that, but that's not really what we're trying to find out here. We're trying to find out what the materials are. Where does lead come from? How do you reduce your exposure to lead? I mean, I think they went off a little bit too deep into the weeds here. And I tried to soften it, but no way. So the letter went out to these 1,800 customers, and we started the phone ringing. And the problem was that the letter had to be sent out by the Friday before Thanksgiving. And by the time they got the letter, it was Thanksgiving. Guess how many people were at City Hall to answer the questions at Thanksgiving? Zip. You know, I mean, it was a pitiful timing on this whole thing. But it is what it is. But what our next step is we have to go and find out what is the material that's going to the meter, what is the material that's going into the house from the meter. So we have to go dig it up, and it says that here in the notice. It said that we would be coming out to do that. Now we've got to do 1,800 of them. It's going to take a while, but we don't want to send these letters out next year, or it's going to be required if we don't find out what some of these unknowns are. We're going to have to do the letter again. So we've talked to Public Works, and when we did a calculation, we found out that we'd have to do 8 of these a day, every day, for about the next year in order to get rid of all these on the list. And no offense to anybody in Public Works, Barry, but I don't think we're going to get them all done. We're probably going to be sending some letters out, but we're going to try the best we can to get all these identified so we don't have to send the letters out anymore. But it's a commitment to our guys to go out there and dig them up. I mean, we did one last week, and it was like 4 feet deep, tree roots all over the place. It took them a while to get to it to find out what it was. I mean, it's not let's take a little shovel of dirt out and, oh, there it is, okay, now we know. But when we do find out that we've got lead service lines, we're going to be expected to do something about them sometime in the future. So once we get the information on where they're concentrated at, then we'll put a program together on how we'll go and replace all of them. We might even have to replace some of the water lines that they're connected to in some locations. So it could turn out to be a bigger project than just removing the lead service lines. As one small side note, when we were getting ready to do the overlay of Aquarium Place, we knew that the water lines in there had been breaking periodically, so we wanted to replace all of them. And when we did that, if we had lead service lines in there, we were taking those out and putting new ones in, and we were relocating the water line to get it out of the road. So we will do that. If something comes up and there's a leak on a line, and we know that it's a lead line, we'll take it out and put a new one in as we go. Hopefully, we can get a lot of those out of the way before next year. So that's my short story. I hope this helps. Did that help explain what's going on?
I appreciate you giving that information, because with City Hall closed, I was getting the calls from Ward 1, and I know that there were some residents that were out there where they were going to go buy test kits, and I said, don't do that. I said, we're looking at the pipes, not the water.
No.
And quite frankly, if you bought a home test kit, you're not going to get the type of quality results that we would get.
Right.
So Barry, you'll have these done by 2025, right? I'm just kidding. Is there a possibility, just a question, thinking about the pig device that Williams uses for their petroleum, is there any type of a scope type of a device that we could use to run through the lines without having to dig them out?
You still have to have a place to put the pig in.
Yeah, well, but.
So you gotta dig out a hole anyway.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was like a service.
There is, I've seen some information online someplace about companies that do have something that they can put in and look down the lines for you, but I don't know how applicable it is to do with what we need to do.
Time, value, money, it might be more cost advantageous if the technology's there, just throwing that out.
I got one other thing before I leave here, so I don't have to come back up. In your Public Works Authority packet, you will find at the beginning of the Public Works monthly report, there's a picture that looks like this. It says, "Progress as promised." It's a project sign. And I developed this myself. I'll take the blame for the whole thing if it doesn't work out well. But I thought it's about time for us to tell people that we're going to start doing some work. So this is the one that's in your packet is for the Elm Street Widening Project, Phase 1, which is the contractor is going to be starting on January 6th. So we're going to put these signs up on one end of the project and one on the other end, and tell people that we're actually doing some work around here. I thought about it also for maybe putting one across the street. I mean, people keep saying, what's being built over here? Well, let's put a sign up and tell them that it's a fire station. So if you have any comments about this, it's all on me, and I refuse to change it, but I will change the words. I'd like to keep it consistent from project to project, but I don't think we've done a good job over the years of tooting our horn that we've got projects going on that were in a bond issue, and that's what this says up here. It's 2020 bond issue. Hey, we're doing the work.
Mr. Carr, is there any way on your signs for the public to know what percentage of completion we're at with the the little thermometer?
A lot of signs I saw have that on there, but it's a pain in the butt to change it all the time. Somebody has to go out there and put it on there. It does say what the target completion date is, and if they expect it to be done in 2 months from now, no. It says spring of 2026 on this phase.
Okay, that's good, as long as there's a proper expectation.
And they do have a telephone number on here to call if they have a question.
Is that Mayor's cell phone?
Yeah, I figured. So, speaking of cell
I
phones.
didn't think of doing that, but.
I have a question about when Barry goes and digs 8 holes a day in the yard, what expectations does the homeowner have on us returning the property to the previous condition? And I ask because in Melody Lane, my whole existence is to drive through Melody Lane and meet people in their homes and tell them that bar ditches are good. And I spend a lot of hours talking about bar ditches. So I'm thinking this is going to make me busy deeper. So what expectations does the public have when we dig the big hole? We
My
plant
ex-
flowers
My
afterwards? or-
expectation, and Barry's expectation, is going to be that it gets returned to the original condition.
Okay,
Ooh, we like that.
all right.
Dig up
Now,
the
it may
gutter.
take a couple days, but
Stick our
we'll
pocket
get it
gophers.
done.
And if we break a sprinkler line, we gotta replace everything. We're on the hook for everything we
Yeah,
break.
I don't, I mean, we're really working right around where the
Okay,
water
so
meter is.
you're not concerned about that? Okay, all right.
We will do locates
Okay.
before we start digging, so,
And all of this, just to be clear, is a result of a federal mandate? Okay.
absolutely.
Where do we need it's in the bill?
Excuse me?
Where do we need it's in the bill?
Maybe we could get the new administration to give an executive order to undo this.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Maybe we can stop.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
Okay.
Flint set the example, I'll tell you.
Okay.
They really messed up
Yeah.
a lot of places.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Carr before he departs?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Carr. And my apologies for cutting you off earlier. The time is 8:25. The city council meeting is adjourned. Does anyone need a quick recess? No? Okay. Chris said no. We're almost done. We'll press on. All right. Call to order the last regular scheduled meeting of the Jenks Public Works Authority. Mr. Macy.
Brown.
Here?
Short.
Here.
Emmons.
Here.
OJ.
Here.
Abel.
Here.
Murray. Here. Chair Box.
Here, item number 1 is our consent agenda. Any questions, comments, polls on our consent agenda? If not, let's get a motion.
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
Thank you both. We have a proper motion and a second. Item 1, let's vote, please.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Emmons.
Yes.
OJ.
Yes.
Abel.
Yes.
Murray. Yes. Chair Box.
Yes, item 2 will pull. Moving on to item 3 is to award new pole barn construction at the Public Works compound to Wolf Barn and Supply out of Talapa, Oklahoma, an amount of $29,444.53. Funding for this project is included in the existing fiscal year 24 to 25 budget in an account known as General Maintenance Capital Outlay Account Number 50522-5392. Mr. Parsons, good evening, sir.
We are running out of space. We've got a lot of our equipment, I call it stacked up to install. Some of them, and we just need some room to breathe a little bit. A lot of it for safety and protecting our equipment from the weather, if possible, and making it last longer. And we request a new pole barn to be built. I went out for about 6 vendors, and actually, I went down to Tahlequah just to check them out. They're a pretty good outfit. Wolf Construction, they were the lowest bidders on this project, and I request that we do it. We do have funding, 24-25 budget that was approved, and request that we proceed building a pole barn.
Thank you, Mr. Parsons. Any questions for Barry? No? This is a need, not a want?
It's a need.
Okay, thank you,
need.
sir. Appreciate that. Mr. Murray?
I was going to make a motion that we approve the awarding of the new pole barn construction to Wolf Barn and Supply.
Second.
Thank you, both. We have a proper motion and second. Item 3, let's vote, please.
Brown.
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Emmons.
Yes.
OJ.
Yes.
Abel.
Yes.
Murray.
Yes.
Chair Box.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Parsons. Merry Christmas. You got a pole barn. Anything else from General Manager's report?
No, sir.
All right, thank you very much. The time is 8:29. We are adjourned. Merry Christmas to everybody.